I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of our investigation is the tragic death of Christian Obumselli at the hands of his girlfriend, a social media influencer and OnlyFans model named Courtney Clenney. Here's the story. The story of Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumselli is one steeped in glamour, passion, and ultimately devastating tragedy. Clenny, a social media star with millions of followers, lived in the shimmering heights of Miami's luxury lifestyle. By her side was Christian Obumselli, a man described as vibrant, ambitious, and full of life. But behind the glossy images and curated posts, their relationship was marred by turbulence, arguments, and allegations of violence. In April of 2022, the glittering facade shattered when Christian was fatally stabbed in their high-rise apartment. Police arrived to a scene of chaos, blood, screams, and life slipping away. Clenny claimed self-defense, but prosecutors painted a darker portrait of manipulation and rage. The case has captured the nation not only because of its shocking nature, but because it exposed the fragility behind an image of perfection, leaving heartbreak and unanswered questions in its wake. So, Courtney Clenney was making money. She was making very good money for someone that young and early in your career, whatever your career is. It was like real money. I want you to take a listen to her father, who was in court, and the issue was about bond and bail, talking about the money that he was handling that was actually his daughter's money. Take a listen.
After April 3rd, Courtney was a mess. I didn't really trust her to handle her finances. One important thing was that her debit card for one of her accounts was not found, and we didn't know who had it or had access to her accounts. So we felt like the prudent thing to do would be to transfer the money into one of our kind of dormant accounts and then safeguard it that way, and then as she needed it, we could use it on her benefit. Well, the first wires were on April 12th of this year. There was one wire for $121,000, one wire for $1,013,000, and then subsequently in May, there was a $50,000 wire as well.
Okay, that's big money. That's big money. We also got a pretty good idea of the lifestyle she was living by where she was living, down in Miami. One of the most expensive areas of Miami, where all the young folks with money want to live. Take a listen to Courtney Clenney. She's on body cam here talking about what she's paying in rent per month.
He has belongings in there. He has belongings in there with you, right? He has property?
42,
So he has property in your apartment?
In my apartment, yes, that I pay $10,000 a month for, he does pay zero for. Yes.
So what do you
So I will have, I really, like, I will happily, I don't care what happens, I just don't, I don't want to ever
Courtney,
have to
let me
deal
ask you
with
this.
it
For
again.
how
So she's paying $10,000 a month in rent. She's paying the money. It's not they're paying the money, her and Christian, her boyfriend. She is the one making the dough, right? She's the one paying the rent in that high-rise condo that they were renting. Okay, so where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from? We call her a social media influencer. She's prolific with millions of fans on Instagram, but she's also on OnlyFans. And she's making money on OnlyFans. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. What really happens on OnlyFans, right? We've talked about this case many times. We refer to it as the OnlyFans murder trial. But what is OnlyFans? What happens on there? Let's bring in some guests who are going to help answer that question. OnlyFans creator Sapphire, who has been creating content for 5 years on OnlyFans, and OnlyFans creator Marie D, who has been creating content for 3.5 years. So both have spent some time making money there. Let me ask you, Sapphire, when we hear those numbers, is the money really that good?
Oh, definitely. The sky's really the limit. I personally don't make that much money, but I know that you can. So, yeah, it's definitely real.
So, Marie D, we're talking about Courtney Clenney here. She's prolific on Instagram, but seemed to be making a lot of money on OnlyFans. What Is there a relationship between those two sites and the way to do business and to make money?
Absolutely. There's a very, very strong connection between the following you have on social media and the money you make on OnlyFans. As someone who has also made millions on OnlyFans, that was only achievable once I was able to become this sort of influencer and put this type of image out there that, you know, most people would want to follow me, right? So you really have to put this image out there. You know, you really have to be on the ball all the time and, you know, put such a facade out there, like the word you guys used. But in general, yeah, you need a lot of followers to generate that sort of income. And I think that's exactly what she had going on. And it obviously led to something different.
Okay, Sapphire, we may have some viewers who are subscribers on OnlyFans, and we may have a whole bunch who have never seen it and don't really know what really happens on OnlyFans. Give us an idea of what's happening on OnlyFans.
Yeah, so the appeal initially for me for OnlyFans was that it could be anything that you want it to be. For me, I do post explicit content. So a lot of creators will have a subscription and they'll post maybe nude content, or they'll have things behind a paywall where you can pay a little bit more money and get, you know, a full-length video of them. I make videos with my partners. And for me, it's all been very amateur. It's me, you know, sharing very personal things with my subscribers. And yeah, it's essentially just amateur adult content. That's what I share. And that's what I've made a lot of money doing.
And you said with your partner, so Courtney,
Yeah.
who went by the name Courtney Taylor, was doing some videos, not all the time, but sometimes with Christian. Is that common, that like your boyfriend, your girlfriend, that together you'll appear on OnlyFans doing what you would normally do in private?
Yes. Yeah, it's very common because a huge moneymaker on the platform is selling those full-length tapes. So if you have a partner, you have the benefit of not having to find someone to collaborate with. So you can make more of that content.
And who keeps the money? Who controls the money in that situation?
Yeah, well, essentially for me, I always control the money. My partner gets the benefit of, you know, being able to help me out, and it's up to me whether I want to compensate them or not. I mean, everyone's going to work differently, but usually my partners have been willing to help me with my business. It's my name, it's my face. I'm the star. That's how I run my business. People do things differently, but that's what made sense for me.
Marie, how about from your perspective? Are you doing the same type of content?
Yes. So I do full-length adult content as well. I have one partner, one male partner, and I am in control of my income fully. I will say that he is also my full-time bookkeeper, which is great. But basically the way that my business works is that he is on a salary. So he gets paid a salary wage, just like my assistants I have. Since I am a larger creator now, I need more help than just another male performer. So I have my male performer on a full-time salary and a few assistants, and that's how it works. I still get the, obviously largest percentage of the income I make, and that's what works out best for my business and for me.
And I hear from both of you, my business, you are in charge. Let me ask you, Marie, you know, you said my boyfriend's on a salary. The case of Courtney and Christian, obviously she was in charge. I don't know how that impacted their relationship, if there was if it created sort of a tension or a jealousy on the behalf of Christian, or if she had more power in the relationship. How has that impacted your personal relationship, since you have this professional collaboration going on, but you're in charge?
So one interesting aspect about OnlyFans is that to the general public and To people who don't understand what it is, quote, degrading to women. But to the ladies like myself who are actually doing it and earning millions of dollars, it's empowering. So I think that where I am is extremely empowered and confident. And that could have potentially been Courtney as well. She could have felt like she was just on top of the world. She could do anything that she wanted to. She didn't need anyone's approval. And, you know, I'm not sure the dynamic of her personal relationship, but when you're the boss, you need to have control and you need to feel like you're in control. So that could have been an issue for her. For my personal life, I feel like I have reached a great work-life balance, which, like, although I'm making adult content, although, you know, my content is very sexy and, you know, it looks really fun to the viewers, there's a lot of business and strategies that go into it. So for me personally, I have just set strict boundaries on what my partner has claimed to versus what I have claimed to and my business has claimed to. And that has helped me a lot. Now, what I think could have happened with Courtney is that she just felt entitled to anything and everything that came her way. And maybe if her partner was being a little greedy in her eyes, that could have been a different dynamic. On top of someone who's already abusive and mentally ill, I couldn't imagine what could happen from that. But as far as how it affects my personal life, it does in every aspect. I mean, this type of business is not only a business that generates a lot of money, but it is my body, it is my privacy, it is my sexuality, it is all of those things. So it's way more sensitive than any business could be. And I think a lot of people do not understand that. A lot of people see any adult performers as soulless or like we don't have morals or we don't have ethics. And that is simply just not the case. So I think for a lot of people, they may never be able to understand this dynamic. But what happened in this case was just purely wrong. I think it could have happened to anyone owning a business when there's a lot of money mixed in with sexuality and both of them performing together. I just think it was honestly a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. The other part, Sapphire, that happened with Courtney, it seems that there were a lot of drug use involved. And that's, I guess, the potential downfall when you're young, living on the high, the high life, and you have access to all this money flowing in. Have you seen that in the industry for OnlyFans creators? Is that common, or is this more of an outlier in what happened with Courtney Clenney?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it is a common struggle amongst creators. Me personally, I've had my struggles, especially in the beginning. Like, I really didn't know just how much I was getting myself into. I thought, I'll put myself out there online, but I didn't really fully realize, I'm going to be making a living. I'm going to have financial freedom. And when you're at such a young age and you don't really, come to realize how to have the willpower to manage your finances, to not go out and, do drugs or alcohol or, whatever is in front of you, anything is available. And so it's so easy to get wrapped up into that lifestyle. I think a lot of creators definitely might be struggling behind the scenes more than it looks like. I mean, it looks glamorous, but there's a lot of parts of the industry that really are not.
Well, I want to thank both of you, Sapphire and Marie D, for taking us to a place where I think it's important to be, to understand the trial that we're going to be covering, because we talk about it all the time, but this is the first time we've ever really gotten the insight, and I really do appreciate it. Sapphire, Marie D, both OnlyFans creators, thank you so much. Coming up next, what happened to Courtney Clenney?
All right, so what do you want to say?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him, okay, so let's start here. I want a restraining order against Christian Obumselli.
Mother found brutally murdered.
Now the victim's boyfriend, a married father of four,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Saturday nights on ION
Is our night.
Let's go! Double headers every Saturday at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern. The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
No, I can't let this out. Guys,
Relax.
Why? No, guys.
Relax.
That's Courtney Clenney hitting rock bottom. That is the moment when she is put in handcuffs after stabbing Christian Obumselli or throwing the knife at him. We'll see what the jury says during the trial. We'll see if it was self-defense. We'll see if it was murder. But she killed him. Either way, she killed him, either in self-defense or murder. And that's like rock bottom of her life. But it wasn't always like that for Courtney Clenney. She started out, she was a fitness model and, social media influencer. So I want to take you on a journey right now as we take a look at Courtney Clenney through the years, starting back in 2016 up until 2022, when she, as we just saw, finally arrested, and this time for killing Christian Obumselli. And take a look at the transformation and the journey of Courtney Clenney on social media.
Happy Valentine's Day, otherwise known as Happy Find Out If You're the Side Chick Day. Ooh. Love you. Ooh. Yeah, it's a vibe, yeah. I wrote raps better than that. It's a vibe. Stop with that.
My name is Courtney Taylor, and I'm about 8 days out from my first show, the NPC West Coast Classic. And today we're going to hit some back and vice, so let's get started. So I grew up in Austin, Texas, and growing up I was in every sport under the sun. I was in competitive diving, horseback riding, gymnastics, soccer, basketball, volleyball, everything.
Do you support the police? I've actually, yes, I do. I think a lot of times they don't do their job, for sure. In my experience, I've not been helped by them. No, I can't let this out.
Relax.
Guys, please.
Relax. Sit down.
Okay.
Sit down.
Okay, just let me.
Sit down.
Okay.
Do me a favor, sit down. Do not
Why
move.
are you yelling at me?
Do not move.
Why are you yelling at me?
Do not move, sit down.
Okay,
we don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened.
I'm terrified.
So right now, don't worry. They're helping him.
That brings us to the next question in our investigation. What happened to Courtney Clenney? Just looking at this before and after, what happened to this young woman? Here to help with our investigation, psychotherapist, CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey, and clinical and forensic psychologist and body language expert, Dr. John Paul Garrison, Dr. G on YouTube. All right, Dr. Janie Lacey, what's your answer to this question? What happened to Courtney Clenney?
Well, Vinny, when I think about what happened to Courtney, I think about how we just saw in the video stream of how she started. When you think about someone that's starting by they're chasing their goals, they have something to achieve, they can often mask what's really underneath them. And what really would come out is exactly what happened. When you achieve those goals, when you're on top, right? So I'm looking at two buckets. One is potential mental illness and what's the documentation around that. And then we also understand that domestic violence is fundamentally about power and control. It's not necessarily about anger management or passion or crimes of passion, that the way that sometimes these cases are often portrayed. There's systematic patterns of behavior that I would be looking at when I look at Courtney's life that was designed to dominate, to control, to get on top, right? In her own level of seeing herself the way that she was seeing herself. So I would analyze this situation from the documented patterns over time, not just the isolated incident of how it was, how it ended. And I think we have enough evidence to show the timeline of the relationship, not just the final incident. So, and even including her medical records and police reports and witness statements, all of those things will help us understand what happened to Courtney from how she started to how she ended. But I would summarize that to say that when I'm looking at her mental illness and things that are probably not seen as we're looking at the image that she was portraying, but in the end, when we look at these domestic violence situations, the pattern of abuse that happens over time.
Dr. J, I I listened to her in those, you know, riding horses out in Texas, going into fitness competitions, all that stuff seemed so positive. And then to see where she landed inside of that $10,000 a month apartment down in Miami, covered in blood, her boyfriend with a knife in him. What happened here? What happened to Courtney Clenney?
Well, there's a couple of aspects of this that you have to really consider. One being that substances can always play a role in this. So we don't know if there were any underlying mental health issues, but if there weren't and she really got into some heavy substances, that can dramatically change how people present, how they think, the kinds of behaviors they engage in. And the other part you have to consider is how intoxicating it is to get that much money that quickly. We see people that do exotic dancing and things like that get money too quickly. They get themselves into trouble, drugs and other things. This very much could be that kind of situation. It really tested her ability to manage her life because maybe she's chronically impulsive. She may struggle with managing being impulsive, managing being angry. So to see her before and after is tragic because it feels almost like a different person with the way she presents.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, the real tragedy here, obviously, is Christian Obumselli, who lost his life, but at her hands and what was going on in this relationship. Okay, Dr. Jenny Lacey, Dr. John Paul Garrison, staying with us. Up next, who is the victim? Courtney or Christian? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the OnlyFans murder trial involving two young people caught in a volatile relationship, much like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, except this relationship ended with a homicide. Here's the story. Courtney Clenney, widely known as a social media influencer and OnlyFans model, earned staggering amounts of money from her online persona, reportedly more than $3 million in just 2 years. With that wealth came a life of luxury in Miami, where she lived with her boyfriend, Christian Obumselli. To outsiders, their relationship seemed glamorous, but behind closed doors, it was volatile, marked by heated arguments, public altercations, and troubling reports of domestic violence. Friends of Obumselli described him as charismatic and driven, though often overwhelmed by the storm of their romance. Police were called to their apartment multiple times, neighbors recalling fights that spilled into the hallways. Then in April of 2022, their relationship ended in tragedy when Christian was fatally stabbed in their high-rise home. Courtney claimed self-defense while prosecutors accused her of escalating violence, turning a life fueled by money, fame, and desire into one defined by loss and controversy. Self-defense is the defense here. That's clear where the defense is going to go here and what this trial is going to be about. They're not going to say it didn't happen. They're going to say it happened, but she was defending herself. And I think one thing that the defense may lean on is what happened the day before the stabbing. Police were called to the apartment. Courtney Clenney is speaking with officers in the lobby. I want to show you exactly what happened and what the conversation was about, because in this conversation, Courtney Clenney is talking about wanting to get a restraining order against Christian. Take a look.
You just want to get into your apartment.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, but you
Time out. Let me talk. Okay.
I feel very like.
What's your name? Courtney?
Yes.
Okay, Courtney.
Why do you have something against me, man? Like, I'm just trying to, like...
Who has nothing against you?
Like
We're trying to talk. So, you just want to get back in your apartment. Unfortunately, he can't be here in the property.
That is totally fine.
Okay, so
He's been literally
what we're gonna do is gonna fine him so he can leave the property and you get back to your apartment. What else do you need?
I was told I was gonna get a chance to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay, now's your turn.
Are you gonna listen?
Go ahead.
So what do you
What do you want?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him, okay, the police are here. I want a restraining order against Christian Obumselli. Because, no, I'm serious. Can I do that? Okay, but how can I make myself first? Because I know him and he would do it. How can I make myself first?
175 Northwest First Avenue. 175 Northwest
Is
First
he already
Avenue.
on the way?
Why do we know? We don't even know who he is. How do we know that?
So your question is,
Have you been drinking today? Have you any medications today? Or
listen,
Okay, listen.
who's on the phone with you?
Just my dad.
Okay, well, let me
Which I think is reasonable.
let me explain to you something with your dad on the phone so you can hear me. You asked me, how can I get a restraining order against him? I answer you, we don't issue those. That's through court. You asked me, I need to get one before him. I told you, the only way is for you to get to court. Then you asked me, is he on the way already? I asked you, I don't even know how he looks like. You understand? It's your questions that are making much of an
I am. Right now, like, I have not always been a victim, but, like, right now, I'm a freaking victim of the situation. I'm scared to go to school to walk my dogs. I just walked them and I told him, you don't have a chance, and now all of a sudden this is all happening.
Okay.
What's his name?
I just...
where's the gentleman that's going to take her up to the police?
Christian?
Please, like,
Okay.
don't... Let me keep out of my own apartment.
Does he have property in the room in the apartment with you? A lot of property, you said. Has he been with you here for about 2 months? Right?
Yes.
Let me let you know something. He lives here. That person lives in that apartment with you. Okay, we cannot trespass anybody that lives in this place.
I feel like I am being cut.
All right. So what do you want to say?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And I want him, okay, the police are here. I want a restraining order against Christian Obumselli.
We don't issue those.
Because,
Those
no,
are
I'm
to
serious.
court.
Can I do that? Where
You have to
can
go
I
to court. You have to go to
Okay, but
downtown
how
or
can I
the
make
petition.
myself first? Because I know him and he would do it.
It's your questions that are making much of an...
I am. Right now, like, I have not always been a victim, but, like, right now, I'm a freaking victim in the situation. I'm scared to go downstairs and walk my dogs. I just walked them and I told them, you don't have a chance, and now, all of a sudden, this is all happening.
What's his name?
Christian Obumselli.
Christian?
Please, just, like, don't... Get me kicked out of my own apartment.
We just want to get him. We just want to...
I'm scared. I'm scared of him.
Take her up to the apartment. Okay. They're going to take her up to the apartment. We're going to go in.
Would it be okay if you guys... If one of y'all...
He has belongings here.
Would it be okay if one of y'all talk to my phone?
And again, this is a day before she stabs Christian Obumselli and he dies. Is it self-defense? Is it murder? That's the question for the jury. I've got a question for our investigation. Who is the victim here? Courtney or Christian? Who's the victim in this back and forth? Let's bring in our guests who are going to help answer that question. We've got with us former Judge Tarlika Nunez Navarro. She's also Dean of St. Thomas University College of Law, and still with us is psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey. All right, Tarlika, I'll begin with you. How do you see this situation? I mean, the day before, she's talking about restraining order, and the next day, she's arrested for putting a knife in his chest.
Well, Vinny, thank you for having me on. But you know, the answer always is, it depends. You know, in the law, it depends. And here we have to really focus on the timeline. Yes, 48 hours prior to, she is asking for a restraining order. But sometimes the law is not so clear. It's not so black and white. There is a gray area here. And the prosecutors, if they're doing their job, really need to focus on the day in question. This day, Christian was stabbed. There were no injuries on Courtney's body at the time, and she was 10 feet away. So she says she threw the knife, but the stab wounds are not consistent with the knife being thrown. So when you take that into consideration, it's easy to see that day it was clearly Christian was the victim. However, 48 hours prior to, she could have been the victim. And if the defense does a good job, they will show that with that 911 tape that you just showed. And we see it all the time in domestic violence court. I sat as a judge for years there, and we see sometimes, we say giraffes attract giraffes. Sometimes we can have two victims. So like I said, it depends, but they really need to focus on the law here. And emphasizing that this is whether or not she is in reasonable fear of her life at that time. When she was 10 feet away, did she need to use deadly force to meet deadly force?
Dr. Janie Lacey, Christian Obumselli wrote a letter, appears to have written a letter. This is from the Independent via the Miami-Dade prosecutor's office. And if we take a look at that letter, some of the things that he says in this letter, he calls her sweet, says he would never trade her for anything. He wants to be your boyfriend, your best friend, lifelong partner. He would put his life on the line for her. I truly love you. I truly believe you are the one God set aside for me. So that's what he was writing to her. How do you see this relationship? Who's the victim?
Vinnie, when I was listening to the police recording that you had shared, it was interesting when she said that she wanted to file a restraining order and she wanted to be first because she knows him and that he was probably assuming her statement was probably going to be filing a restraining order. So in these cases, what we would be assessing for is a primary aggressor versus someone who's more in the reactive position, because in these domestic violence situations, we know that the actual physical act is often led by, I would call it a runway. Sometimes there's financial control. If we're looking in this situation, I would assume there could have been some of that. Isolation, emotional abuse. So sometimes the other partner's reaction is sometimes typically a defense or a reaction to that. And that's very different than what we would call mutual abuse, where both parties might initiate violence more equally in the relationship, because the functions and the patterns are completely different. So when I'm looking at this particular situation, I'm wondering if there's some trauma responses that can also appear as you read the letter that's counterintuitive to what people who we would think have experienced chronic abuse. Victims might defend their abuser publicly, and they might minimize some of these incidences, and they even may appear calm when they're talking about discussing some of the things that have happened. And these, in our perspective, are completely normal trauma responses, because there's disassociation that's very common. And it's the mind's way of protecting itself when events are overwhelming, especially with someone that you love. And victims can be really genuine and not remember all the details because of the turmoil of the relationship.
Yeah, Tarlika, how relevant is the history here to what happened that day?
Well, incredibly relevant. If the defense does the job that they need to do, they're going to bring in the 48-hour tape, like I said. But if the prosecutor's doing the job that they need to do, then they need to bring in the prior arrest that happened in Vegas, where she allegedly threw a glass at him and was arrested. You also have the text messages from Christian saying that he was a victim of domestic violence, that he was going to be treated at the hospital and say it was a football injury, and where he's detailing that he has been hit before. And then you see the elevator incident. Like the doctor mentioned, this is a runway and a history of abuse, and it is a pattern. So of course the timeline is relevant. It's how the state and the defense play up the timeline that really will make the difference here and make the call with the jury.
Dr. Janie Lacey, thank you so much. Tarlik is going to stay with us. Still to come, let's talk about that timeline. What does the timeline of that day reveal?
Baby, wake up, wake up. Wait, what? Courtney? Courtney.
Just keep him sitting up. Leave.
Courtney, listen to me. Get up, come on.
8.5 months pregnant, a young mother found brutally murdered.
To lose a child, there's no words for it.
Now, the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
That's one of the things that struck me. He was not remorseful.
From the first gavel to the final verdict, Court TV takes you inside the South Florida courtroom
for this tragic death penalty case.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
Sit down, sit down, sit down. Do me a favor, sit down. Do not
Why
move.
are you yelling at me?
Do not move.
Why are you yelling at me?
Do not move, sit
Okay,
down.
okay,
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened.
I'm terrified
So
for him.
right now, yeah, don't worry. They're helping him.
That's Courtney Clenney being arrested in the apartment down in Miami after the stabbing of Christian Obumselli. I want to go through a timeline of what's happening just before that arrest so we get a better idea of the mindset and the actions of Courtney and Christian. We begin at 4:01 p.m. Courtney called Christian, then she goes live on Instagram. So what I want to do for you is play for you a piece of what she is saying on her Instagram at 4:01. Again, this is, just moments before everything happens. Take a listen.
Do you support the police? I said, I've actually, yes, I do. I do. I think a lot of times they don't do their job, for sure. In my experience, I've not been helped by them.
Okay, let's move ahead now. We get back to the timeline. So 4:01, she called Christian, then did that Instagram Live. At the end of the Instagram Live, she calls him again. Then at 4:33, Christian walks into the apartment. 4:43, Courtney Clenney calls her mother. That call lasted until 4:49, just over 6 minutes. Then at 4:49, she made a second call to her mother. They spoke until 4:56, a little over 7 minutes. At 4:57, Courtney Clenney calls 911. It appears to me that the stabbing takes place and her mother may still be on the line. 5:04, 57 seconds, police officers exit the elevator at the unit. Let's take a look.
We might have a dead body upstairs.
Okay. We'll follow you. We'll follow you. Anybody up there? You were up there?
Yeah, security's there with 2 residents. It's the female girl. Police has came 5 times. She went to commit suicide 5 different times. They were punching each other 5 different times. And until this day, this bad. He's unconscious, full of blood. I have the pictures here. We're here. Right here. Police are here. Police are here. Hey, come on. Come here. Get up. Leave. Get up. Get up right now. Baby, wake up. Wake up. What's it, Courtney? Courtney.
Just keep him sitting up here. Leave.
Courtney, listen to me. Get up. Come on. No,
I can't let this. Okay.
Chaos there at the end. And you can see, you get some information about what was happening that day from the man who works in the building and all this chaotic behavior in this tumultuous relationship. All right, so we took a look at the timeline, brings us to the next question in our investigation about that timeline. What does the timeline reveal here? What does it tell us about the moments leading up to this fatal stabbing? Here to help with our investigation, former Judge Tarlika Nunez Navarro, and still with us, clinical and forensic psychologist, body language expert, Dr. John Paul Garrison. All right, Dr. G, your thoughts about what we just saw and heard. She's posting on Instagram. That seems like a normal day, making the calls, and then we go 0 to 100, I guess, at some point.
If you go back and look at what she did in that elevator, we see that she is explosive. She can turn on a dime. So the timeline, I think, can change very quickly with somebody like that. She seems like her anger could really go from pretty normal to rage pretty quickly. So I'm not surprised that it might have been a very short amount of time that she went from acting pretty normal to potentially stabbing Christian.
All right, Tarlika, looking at what's going on, it seems to be relatively normal day, I guess, in the life that she's living. She goes on Instagram. She's calling Christian. He gets there. She's talking to her mom at the same time. Seems to me mom might be an important witness in all of this.
Absolutely. And it's even questionable whether or not between the 456 and the 449 and the 456, did she stab him and then call mom for help? Because there's 2 calls to mom. So that's certainly something that I'm thinking of as a former judge and prosecutor. Did she call mom for help? Clearly, she called him several times and did not get him. She was upset. He walks in the door, encounter ensues, and it's certainly relevant that once 911 is called, she is saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She's not saying he tried to kill me, he was choking me, I'm a victim, none of that. It was, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So I would say that she potentially could have called mom to ask for help.
Yeah, Dr. G, how about, to me, that's another significant moment here, right? In the middle of whatever is going on between these two, she's making millions of dollars, but she's young. She's an adult, but a young adult, lots of money, but in the middle of this very toxic relationship and a toxic moment, obviously. And she's calling mom.
It seemed like she was legitimately confused when the police were there. And so I think that the trauma that anybody experiences when they have stabbed somebody else, because I don't think this was premeditated. I think that she's just exceptionally chaotic. And so I do think that she was probably struggling a little bit herself with her own reality at that point. So calling her mom, just trying to ground herself, figuring out, what do I do? So I think she knew what she had done, but the whole situation probably was very overwhelming, very confusing. And I would guess that even her mother probably had a hard time following what was going on the other end because she's so chaotic.
Let me ask you, Tarlika, this is a self-defense defense. 9 times out of 10, maybe 19 out of 20, self-defense, the defendant testifies. Do you think it's going to happen here?
She's going to have to testify, Vinny. If she wants to prove to the jury that she was in reasonable fear of her life, they are going to have to put her on the stand. And I don't know how well she's going to do based on that 911 tape that we've heard, based on the tape that we saw in 48 hours prior to the death. Her presentation, it's going to be a challenge, an uphill battle for her to prove that she was in fear of her life on that day.
Dr. G, what do you think it'll be like for her to take the witness stand? This is someone who is used to attention. It's a different type of attention. It's in front of a camera. Your life isn't on the line, but what are your thoughts about her as a witness?
I think she could potentially have a very difficult time with any attorney that is frustrating her. If we saw her with the police when she was asking for help, she was getting very frustrated with them, and they weren't even really doing anything. So as someone who seems to need a lot of control, I could see that being a situation where she could decompensate, as we say. She could become very difficult and potentially maybe even explosive. Maybe that's overstating it, but I could see it being very difficult for her on the stand.
Dr. John Paul Garrison, Dr. G on YouTube, great to have you on the program. Always great insight. Tarlika Nunez Navarro, your experience is amazing, and we appreciate you being on tonight. You know, this upcoming trial, it's a murder case, but it's really going to be about the relationship between Courtney and Christian. That's why the history of the violence between these two is vital to understanding what happened on the day Christian died. The question is, how much of that prior history will the jury get to see? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.